Hi, this is Michael Cohen, and I'm a Dallas elder law and estate planning attorney, and I'm joined by my friend, a co-host on my radio show for many years, Don Crawford Jr. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to talk a little bit about Medicaid today, just because the laws changed in September of 2025 as to the amount of calculation for those who make gifts to get eligible for Medicaid or uncompensated transfers. So for Medicaid, long-term care Medicaid in particular, there's 109 Medicaid programs. So the rules are different depending on the program. So this is just on nursing home Medicaid. Just thought I'd do a brief explanation of that for those who are interested.
Okay.
Every state differs on the cost of care. In Texas, as of September 1st, 2025, the divisor to determine how many days of ineligibility from the date you apply and are otherwise eligible is they look at how much was given for something that was less than fair market value and divide that by the daily rate, which is $262.37 now. So if you gave away 26,000, that would be, you divide that into it, that's 100 months or whatever, or 100 days rather.
Hmm.
So in other words, it averages the average nursing home is around $7,800 a month for cost of care. And so a lot of people think, oh, gee, I got to get rid of my assets so that the government will help pay for care. By the way, this has nothing to do with the annual gift tax exclusion. Remember, for federal gift tax purposes, you could give up to $19,000 a year per person without reporting to the government. But
Right.
Medicaid is means tested. They think that you gave away money on purpose to get eligible for public benefits. If you're single on Medicaid, exclusive of non-countable resources like your home or your car or pre-need funeral or everyday living things. So there are some exceptions, term life insurance. Um, you can only have $2,000. So let's say, oh, gee, what can I do to reduce my assets so the government pay for the cost of care? So let's say you have Social Security of $2,000 a month or whatever it is. Let's say it's $1,800 a month, so you won't get confused with the amount of resources. So if you have income of $1,800 a month and your uh, amount of assets is 2,000 and the cost of care was 7,800, if I'm eligible for Medicaid, I could save $6,000 a month.
Okay.
So let's say that I gave away some money. Well, they said, well, you did that on purpose to get eligible for Medicaid. Um, so a lot of times it should be mentioned. So that's how they determine it from the date you apply or otherwise eligible. So let's say uh, it was oh I let's say you gave away the money in October of 2020. Let's say you had um, let's say 78,000. The average, remember I told you it's about $7,800 a month when you add 262.37 times 30.
Hmm.
Let's say you gave away 78,000, that's 10 months. So if I gave away 78,000 in October of 2025 and then applied for Medicaid, and that was all I had, and I was got below 2,000 for November 1st of 2025, well, then there's been 10 months of ineligibility from the month in which you applied, November, and before there's eligibility. Now, I should
Right.
tell you there are certain strategies that people do to reduce the penalty, and there are certain exceptions to the rules as well. So, for example, they look at transfers between spouses as an exception, transfers to a disabled child as an exception, but be sure that the disabled child's not on Medicaid, because then that person would lose their public benefits, because that's means tested. Now, if they're on Medicare, Social Security disability, that's different. Sometimes you could have even a certain type of trust for that type of person who's on Social Security disability uh, that's okay, that's actuarially sound.
Okay.
Also, sometimes for college education, if it's done correctly, to an irrevocable 529 or to a uniform transfers to minors account, there are exceptions to Medicaid's rules. But the important thing to know that there are different gifting strategies and that the dollar amount just changed as of September 1st, 2025. The laws of every state are different. The laws of every state are different. So if you go to, and some states, they even have regions. So let's say Manhattan would be different than upstate New York. Because the cost in Manhattan would be much greater than in upstate New York. And of
Sure.
course, the cost of every state is different. California has different rules. They still haven't even adopted the most recent rules, but they've been that way for years, but everything's different there. So the rules of each state are different. Texas has a statewide average, so which is kind of detrimental to those in the urban areas, at least Dallas, Houston, and Austin, where it's more expensive than if
Right.
you're in a rural area. So so it's a disadvantage in some respects to those in the urban settings
Right.
versus the rural settings. But in any event, just to let people know that the divisor just changed on September 1st of 2025. There's different planning you should do. And one final thing that should be mentioned is that your power of attorney, if you do not have long-term care insurance or adequate income or assets to pay for care, should be at least discussed whether you should give the authority to make any kind of gifts. And the reason for that is because you could do some of these strategies as far as planning to preserve resources. Or if you did broad gift giving, if you had, let's say you had a home, it's going to be worth more than 19,000. So you might want to have the ability of the agent to do a certain type of deed to protect the home from Medicaid estate recovery. Even though the home doesn't count as a resource, the state might have a right to go after it after death. You could protect that. And if you haven't done that, you could give the agent under a power of attorney the ability to do that. So lots of different things that you should also look at when you do a power of attorney.
And that's the point of all of these podcasts and YouTube programs. And that is for you to understand, to be more educated. And Michael does a superb job at that. And you want to protect what you have. And that's what Michael's ultimate calling is. And the best way to do that is to attend his next workshop, which is scheduled for October 4th. But if you don't make that one or this doesn't air in time, you can always schedule for the next one because they are, I think, every month, Michael, you said.
That's right.
They're very helpful. They're in person, they're in Dallas, and you will not regret one time spent. And you'll walk out of there saying, I'm really glad I went.
Yeah, and if you do go to the free estate planning essentials workshop or Medicaid, then you'll get a free 1 hour vision meeting to go over your questions in more depth. To do that, all you have to do is call 214 720 0102. That's 214 720 0102, or sign up online at dallaselderlawyer.com. That's dallaselderlawyer.com. Hope to see some of y'all there. And I appreciate your time and attention. If you like this YouTube, push like. I appreciate it. And I hope
Thank
to
you,
see
Mike.
some of you soon. Thank you,
My
Don.
pleasure. Yes, sir.